Yeah, this is John Wilson on the not on camera, and I am talking to Ronald Barrington Robinson, who's on camera. And Ronald Barrington Robinson is, well, you got a lot of things I could say in your dossier, and we'll discuss that when we go into a little bit about yourself. But he also used to be a frequent, contributor here at All Points TV and other places on the internet. You also used to do your show initially. The In My Opinion show was initially held on a public access channel. Was it for Comcast?
Yes,
Yeah, and so he used to be involved in that. So we'll go over that. He's been involved quite a bit of stuff for the past, what, 24, 25, 26 years?
correct.
Yes, I mean, he's wore many hats. We'll cover some of that. We'll just list them and we can go into them. He was the vice president of the Flint chapter of NAACP for 4 years. He was also a contributor to the Flint Inquirer newspaper that was published for several years. I think sometime through the 70s, I think I heard about it, 70s or 80s. And he was a contributor to that for several years. He also is involved in politics when he was still living here in Flint. And now he's also involved in the political scene down there in Sumpter Township, Sumpter, Michigan, which is, you said, like 8, 9 miles away from Ann Arbor, right? Sumpter Township.
Correct.
Yeah. So anyway, you also have you have deep roots in Michigan, period. That you had several years here in the Flint area before moving to the Sumpter Township area, and basically you're still involved in politics, grassroots. When you're here in Flint area, you did. I thought I just was discussing this with you earlier. I didn't know about you were where you were actually bringing people to keeping people warm and keep people cold during the various seasons. You were helping them by not only helping them have get the place like the cooling centers or the warming centers in the winter that you helped establish, help create you got the money for the generators and all that, but you also brought people into your homes at times for the same reasons. So let's go into that. I mean, how did you get involved in all this stuff, and why are you still persistent in this when you're doing down there in Sumpter Township as well, right?
Exactly. I had nothing to do with buying the generators for this was in Sumpter Township, but the citizens of the townspeople, or should I say the residents and the taxpayers, spent over $60,000, or maybe more, from what I understand, for this generator, and they had a big gym that could have accommodated hundreds of people at a time, uh, so that they wouldn't suffer during the wintertime uh, and the summertime when it gets hot. But for whatever reason, they were, they would not do it. Okay. Uh, they thought, or they were under the thinking, or under the idea that everybody has a computer and everybody has a phone. But that's not reality, because Sumter Township is a relatively poor community, and many people don't have access that the township says they give out. They send out these uh, texts, to people, but how can they reach the people that don't have a phone or a computer? But just a bunch of bullshit and lies from some Sumter Township on my part, in my opinion. Okay. Um, so I also was, as I mentioned, as John mentioned, I was vice president for 4 years in the Flint branch of the NAACP. I graduated from my college with in political science. I was a Seventh Ward captain, and I ran for Seventh Ward. Uh,
Here in Flint, Michigan, right here in Flint.
mhm.
Yeah, no, I I know they changed the districts, the boundaries for the wards. Since I think you ran sometime in the '90s, right? For that seventh ward
Yes.
position, yeah. But what back then, what area would that encompass at that time? The seventh ward would have encompassed.
Lippincott and the area back towards the high school.
So That's like so. That's like that was like what time would that have been in the '90s or late '80s or late '90s when you ran for that position? Or and
Yes.
and also you because I remember when you came here before when you used to do the show on a more regular basis. The pandemic, you basically kind of you stopped coming in because you're concerned about the health of your co-hosts and stuff like that during the COVID crisis. So you kind of lost touch, and but you've always been involved in political things where you currently are living at, and that's the purpose, the big major thrust of why you came in today. We'll get into that, but I still think a little bit more is going to be covered about you because I think you had an impressive track record for being involved on the grassroots level and trying to empower the people. And I think that's always appreciated. It should be appreciated. Uh, the you engage in a feed a family program for how many years was that? And that was basically you and your friends in the your cohorts in the show bringing the money together to get the buy these the food items, right?
20 years at least.
Wow, see that's and you raised quite a bit of money. I mean, I remember them divvying up and bringing money and they also brought donations in when they were coming in here, and I thought it was a pretty impressive amount of stuff you collected personally, and it kind of made me start to think about what just a few individuals could do without having to get a nonprofit started or hitting the government up for money. I thought it was really admirable that you and your cohorts and friends of the prior podcast shows or whatever were engaged in. So I mean, and a lot of it was the wide political alliances that they came from, but they'll come together for that. I mean, Henry Hatter, for one, is a person more on the more of the right wing, and he was involved in this. And then you had people more along the same views that you had, but it seems like you brought them all together, and that's pretty admirable, I think. So
Yeah, I was very happy with that. And, we worked together as a team. All right. Which was, in itself was rewarding. And so I've continued to do that since I left Flint. Uh, Let me just say this: while I lived in Flint, uh, I graduated from the Flint Police Department's academy for the community. All right, so I have, and then I was a manager of a 35 unit apartment building here in Flint. So
so that part I didn't know. I didn't know that part. I knew that you were connected to law enforcement. Were you trained as like to be a law enforcement or be like a citizen liaison between the department and the police? I mean, in the community, or what was that role?
well, no, it didn't have anything to do with the Department of Correction. I retired as a lieutenant commander with with the Michigan Department of Corrections. So we didn't have any contact or no connection in terms of, um, um, I'll put it this way: my programs didn't have anything to do with the Flint Police Department, other than I graduated with from the Flint Police Citizens Academy.
Oh, that was an intriguing thing, I think, too. What I've heard about this, but it's kind of I don't want to go too much in that. It might be a source for another podcast. But anyway, you're coming here today to bring some attention to things you think ought to be addressed, sincerely addressed in your current township of Sumpter Township. So we'll go into that, okay?
Yeah, I have uh, a hard time grasping. America's supposed to be the most powerful country in the world, but why is there so much hunger and things of that nature? Um, it's just beyond my imagination. Okay, and 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 I have a problem with blight. Okay, especially in Sumpter Township. Blight anywhere shouldn't happen, but we have two um, ordinance officers in Sumpter Township uh, making $75,000 a year each. But yet we have all this blight everywhere just about on every street, every road in the township. So I don't know what they're doing. Obviously, they're not doing anything if we have all this blight. And some pictures that we're going to show you, uh, in a few minutes, that they've been there since I've been there. and that's 20 some years.
And
What are we paying these? What are we paying these guys for?
and from what you said to me about what you told me about what's going on, it's basically they have ordinances in place or policies in place, but there's a very seem to be very selective enforcement of that because they go after some people and they totally ignore other people doing the same thing, having the same issues
That's true.
on their property. So I mean, selective enforcement is basically it's of why would you get would like to be interesting to get right to the roots of why they choose to not enforce it on some people and not on others. So I mean that's the major that's a huge issue problem. I mean it's everywhere. That kind of stuff goes on everywhere. And when you moved to Sumpter Township, did you think they were going to be kind of getting away from the issues you saw in Flint and Genesee County, or were you kind of aware that basically you knew this was the same stuff going on, similar stuff?
Same stuff, but I wanted to try to make a difference, and I'm going to make a difference. The ones that if you don't want to do your job, then get your ass out of the way. It's that simple, you know. Because you folks work for us. We don't work for you.
That's a frustrating part. I mean, they pass laws on us. They say they want our input, and then they tell us they announce here in Flint. They announce like we got this. We're going to have this meeting, and we want your input. We go there, and you find out it's been a foregone done. It's done. The deal's done. They're basically using an opportunity to announce it, and there's no chance for you to actually have any input where it might alter the outcome. And basically, then they get really kind of puzzled and perplexed when anybody has any objections to what they've already decided for you. Does that go on too there in Sumpter Township, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They just tell things that aren't true. Okay. They get people's hopes up, and then nothing happens. You know, we have people that are making 100,000 plus a year, and all they do is sit their ass up in that township office. And that's as far as they go, except for when it gets election time, and then the ones that are running for office, like the township trustees, then they want to go out there and start knocking on people's doors and telling more lies. People don't listen to those. Don't listen to. There's 7 that they're on the board right now. If they come to your door, shoo them away, because they're telling the same lies that they've been telling. Okay, and they go nowhere.
We have a picture of one of the trustees. You want to show it at this point, or?
Yes. Why don't we do that?
Okay, now obviously it's a kind of taken from far away. So, but anyway, what do you know that? Would you want to name the individual in this picture? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Would you? Okay. What's his name? You're drawing a blank.
Bart Patterson.
Okay. All right. So it's like, yeah, there's some. How many did you say there was?
There's 7 of them altogether. All of them need to be recalled and not reelected for any position within the township government.
Now, okay, I mean, 7 people. We want people to be represented. Okay, and I can understand it done proportionally to the population. But what's the population roughly of Sumpter Township?
Little around 10,000 people.
And the trustees get paid how much for their position each year?
Well, what they did is, and as of 2022, when they got into office, they voted themselves $10,000 raise each. All right. I mean, being a trustee is a volunteer thing. All right. It's not a career. But the ones that are on the board right now, to them, it's a career. They've been there forever, and they've done nothing for Sumpter Township, but lie, in my opinion.
Now, some people would say that they would think a trustee in a township should probably try to gauge in getting business to locate there, or trying to better the infrastructure, or there's a lot of things. I guess it depends on the amount of people and the condition of the township. I mean, but what would you think a trustee should be engaging in? Do you think, obviously, making sure the maintenance of the properties that in their control are actually maintained? What else would you think were the duties?
No,
would
that
be?
part they're not doing. All right, in my opinion. Sumpter Township has a lot of opportunities to be much better than what we have right now. Uh, there's no businesses, all right, that can support the taxes. Really, uh, we have no schools. We have no. It's a food desert, and they want to keep it rural. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's get some grants going. Let's do something for the kids. All right.
Now,
They don't do anything for the youth.
now you mentioned the food desert. How far? I mean, what's the major grocery stores or food chain outlets that people have to go? How far it would be for them to actually go to get stuff that's not highly marked up like a convenience store or party store prices? Well, how far?
About 10 miles.
10 miles. Okay, that is definitely definitely is kind of an encumberment. I would say, and the same thing the urban centers are facing. I mean, they have to go outside of into the more suburban areas to go get groceries, to go to the grocery stores. Um, and there's a but what else now? We also got pictures of things. So what? Some people are going to see some of these pictures and not be saying, "Well, that doesn't look too bad." But it's blight, but it also kind of underscores the selective enforcement issue. We're going to be showing pictures of trailers and stuff like that on property. Some people wouldn't think that was that much of a sign of blight, but it's also certainly is, and it's also a case of selective enforcement because they went after people. Some people who've had the same thing, and the other people are ignored. They're not. They don't cite the same policies or try and enforce them. And we'll go into that too. Okay.
Yeah, because that's a pet peeve of mine, as I said when we did part one of of this program. My problem started in 2016. All right, as I said in part one, that the township supervisor at that time, all right, was John Morgan, and he mentioned that he wanted people to clean up the property. So I told him, I said, "Hey, why don't you clean up that pigsty at your house?" So that's where my trouble started. you know. Not only that, but I feel in my heart that somebody in that township municipal building has something to do. I had 2 horses, all right, and I still got a $5,000 reward for the ones that tried to kill him. One they managed to kill, poisoned, okay, and the other one got really sick. It cost a lot of money to keep her alive, but and that's just part of the retaliation factor, in my opinion. Okay. Um, and every time I bring it up, things get hush hush. But I want the guilty person identified and arrested.
No, this happened in 2017 as well. They were poisoning the horses, or was it soon afterwards?
Yes.
And no, like the veterinarians that treat them, they believe it was did they tell you what type of poisoning it may have been, or
No, they did not.
yeah, it's like God. And these are horses in relatively good health prior to this, right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, anyway, that's it's the animal cruelty for one thing. I would say it's like if somebody engaged in that you can face more time doing that, I think, in this country in some areas than you could for killing a human. And I definitely want to see these people punished. But did you have any kind of help with the local police department to investigate this, or they ignored it, or?
Well, when I went to make a report to the police department, the Sumpter Police Department, I was asked, "Well, why are you making a report?" And that kind of dumbfounded me. What the hell you think I'm in here for? To make a complaint, all right? Somebody poisoned my horses.
And they didn't seem to want to look into it at all.
Right. So I made the report regardless of whatever one of the officers told me. I mean, I made the report anyway, but I'm still waiting.
And that was, and now the horse is still with us.
Right.
Does it have continuing problems because of that incident, or
Doesn't seem to be?
That's fortunate then. I mean,
because it costs a lot of money, to get him healthy.
So that's like I wasn't unaware of that. That incident. That's kind of surprised to me. I mean, you discussed that you thought there was selective enforcement, and we went over that. And I think, but that adds a dimension of like an indifference, and but that should anger a lot of people who are activists out there. These people, the cops failed to do a follow up on a report of animal abuse and deliberate poisoning.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. Obviously, I haven't heard anything. So my mind says they didn't do anything.
I would have to say, if they didn't kill, did they never come to your house or return a call or anything? Or?
No, I went to the police department.
Yeah, and that's a thing here in Flint. If somebody breaks in your house, they have to initial call to go. You have to go downtown to file the report, and they don't even want to bother with it, basically. And of course, we will probably have like 3 cops on staff, on the road at any given point. Anyway, the Michigan State Police do a majority of the patrols that I see, and so along with the Sheriff's Department of Genesee County.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to have a lot of shared issues, or similar issues. But I mean, them not investigating a possible poison of animals. I mean, that seems it should be high up on some kind of priority list, but evidently not. So we'll go wrong from there. So I mean, we got the pictures of the blight, and again, want to stress this, and I want people to know this. It's like some of these scenes you might not think it's like that dreadful or that worthwhile, but it underscores these incidents will underscore selective enforcement, because they came after you for having a trailer on your property, right?
Exactly. Actually, they did more than that. And they gave me an ordinance violation saying that I can't have a camper on my property if there's no house. But as you'll see with these pictures that you're about to see, that there's several and that I have taken pictures of that they do not have homes. And by any means, that's not all of the campers that are on vacant land without home, without a house. All right. Uh, uh, you know, so it's a good old boy. It's a good old boy time. Good old boy town. All right. There's so many relatives that work for the Sumpter Township. Cousins and kids of the township trustees and fire department and so forth and so on. All right. There's no employment in Sumpter Township other than I shouldn't say there's not much employment in Sumpter Township unless you work for the township. These little party stores. I mean, who in the hell is going to pay $2 a slice of pizza? All right. It's just ridiculous.
So anyway, we'll show you the first one here. I think this shows you what we're going to show right now is like it looks like trailers, and it doesn't look like there's a home here, a house nearby. So we'll show you one of those, and yeah, I think you can see it over the screen there. Okay, can you see that? Now there's no home on that property.
None.
And so there's looks like an RV and a trailer. So I mean, there's one that's got an engine obviously in it, or I don't know if it works. I guess that's called a recreation vehicle, and the other one's a trailer. And two of them, there looks like a pole barn, but it looks like maybe there. But you said again, there's no actual established residence on that property, right?
as far as I know.
And here's another one, I think. This is a different shot, different picture of another trailer on somebody else's property. It definitely looks on a different property because it doesn't have the same. Can you see that where you're seeing it now? Can you see it? Which one I'm looking at?
There's weeds growing up out of the roof.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see that.
So obviously it's been there a while.
Yeah, and then we'll take another look at. Let's see which one this is. Yeah, there's a home or a abandoned building, definitely overcrowded with weeds and brush. But you're telling me that somebody's living in that place, right?
There's been people living there, yes.
And so, I mean, I'm sure that violates ordinance, and or it should, because it looks like there's no windows in the place, and it'd be kind of hard to live there. But there's also another one we have here. There's gates open, but it looks that's an abandoned property as well, right?
Right.
But also somebody seems to be occupying it.
Right.
So,
See, I have no problem, I mean, people have to have shelter. Okay. But the point I'm trying to make is that if they centered me out, okay, then the same rule ought to apply to other people too. In terms of if you don't have a house, if that's the ordinance, you can't have a trailer on that property. But not only do these people have uh, 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 trailers on the property, but they're also living in them. I never lived in mine. I have a home. Okay. So selective enforcement. My thing is equality. It should be equality for everybody, regardless of your color or your orientation. But they don't believe like reasonable people.
it's like, yeah, we have a lot of Yeah, I just definitely think it's selective enforcement. I mean, that's an issue. I mean, the law's got to be consistent if it's going to be enforced at all. It should, if you're going to create a law, enforce it, uniformly. And I have real issues with that because that happens here as well. I mean, some people get away with murder literally, and it's infuriating, and it's also goes against the very fabric, the ideas that we have for a fabric society. I mean, but anyway, I think that's definitely should be addressed. Another thing, we'll try to get some more pictures here. I tried to find a picture of we had of the. It didn't seem to come out for some reason. Man, that's weird. We have a park picture, but I mean I can't find the original picture. Hold on, I got to go to that. But a picture of the park that you also have some issues of basically neglect and unsafe conditions because we'll show you I'm trying to find the picture of the actual park, the signage, and I'll open that up, and we'll show you the park, and we'll go. That's a form of blight too, but it's more egregious because there's the park right here. It's Marvin L. Banote Municipal Park, Sherwood Pond, and there's like with this sign, he was very disconcerting. He said there's several signs such as this that
Yeah.
you basically for
All around the lake.
and so it's like if they want to have control of this lake, they should have things in place to safeguard the safety of those people who might be utilizing that facility. And it's they don't have like lifeguard, obviously no lifeguard,
Nothing.
And
I was out there 3 days ago, and it was just appalling the way they let that park deteriorate.
we could show a picture of that too, of the where it just seems like somebody's like abusing the equipment of the place. There's a picnic table. It looks like it's been pretty much put into the lake itself or the pond. That's not good. I mean, somebody's just being very careless or very derelict in taking care of that kind of stuff. I mean, that's one thing it's an issue. And
Well, sure, there's a certain amount of vandalism, but they want to blame outside people coming in there and doing this, but I'm not so sure that that's true. Okay, Sumpter Township is always is good to blame somebody else. All right, and not take responsibility. Okay. Now, the township supervisor, Tim Bowman, he came in there and bulldozed uh, the the docks, you know, uh, and I've heard from a reliable person that when he was out there, his wife came out there allegedly, okay, and she had to use the bathroom. And under no circumstances, he said that would she use one of those bathrooms. This was almost a couple of years ago, and nothing has changed.
This is an official's wife herself saying this,
Yes,
and her husband presumably is the person who has some kind of oversight on that, right?
exactly. He's a supervisor
So,
for Sumpter Township.
so she's basically owning up to his negligence, right?
Exactly. When he ran for office, his motto was uh, "Drain the swamp." Okay, drain the swamp. He's done, in my opinion, done everything but drain the swamp. When they took office, him and all those other seven, when they took office in 2022, they gave themselves thousands of dollars in raises. Okay, they didn't ask the people.
That seems to be the most aggravating part of politics and politicians is you or I, when we're employed in the private sector, we have to scrape and basically sacrifice our existence to show our employer we need we're deserving of more of a raise. These people in politics can take it upon themselves to give themselves an increase in their wages or salaries whenever they choose to, and that's going to cease. I mean, I think that should be one of the things the citizens should have to vote on. I know if you or I were employed by a private employer, they would actually go through, great lengths to avoid paying us more money.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you're proving your worth to them and to your how valuable you are of an asset you are to that place, it should seem like that'd be at least incentive for them to recognize that. But these people don't even need to. They could be a piss poor job and still get a considerable raise for themselves because they're voting for themselves.
You hit the nail on the head. Piss poor jobs. That's what all seven of them have been doing, in my opinion.
Now, I don't know if we want to use this because you told me about something that was really concerning me, and I don't know if you want to go into it. You can tell me straight off. If you don't, something we mentioned just prior to going live here. I'm going to record it about the township, the lawyer who's acting in that role as being the township's law attorney. You want to go into that at all, or what?
Sure. His name was Rob Young. He's should I say? He's everything, in my opinion, that's wrong with Sumpter Township. All right. He's not an elected official, but he acts like an elected official.
And what you told me too, you did a FOIA request, right?
I did one, and I have it right here. He doesn't even have a contract. So the things that he's had the township do or approved, did he have legal rights to do any of that stuff? I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but I think the FBI should come in and see what the hell's going on.
So he was given legal advice to the leadership, the officialdom of the township, but he has no he's receiving. You believe he's receiving some kind of retainer, some kind of funding for that role, right?
Yeah, because this is a FOIA request. All right.
But yet they have no contract on file for this individual, or some kind of agreement for him to be the township attorney, right?
No, I don't know if you folks can see this, but it's not signed. All right.
So that's like and so there's
Can you
like
get a close up on that?
not really. I can't do
Oh,
that. I
okay.
wish I had the foresight of taking a picture of that.
Hmm.
But no, that was a FOIA request or the actual like the findings of the FOIA request.
The findings of FOIA request. All right.
Yeah. So he had no sign. He hasn't signed a contract with the city or the
According to this
township.
FOIA
Right.
request, no.
So, so I'm not a legal expert, obviously, and there's might be a way that an attorney could be maybe paid on a per need basis. But he seems to be the go-to attorney and for this township, right? And, they go to,
Yes.
yeah. So he's like the one that they go to, they cite as being the person they talk to, right? Discuss these issues with.
Yes.
So I mean, there's like legal gray area, I guess. I mean, there's a possibility. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go through law school, but it just seems like that kind of if he doesn't have an agreement signed and I think it's a kind of a dodging attempt, to do if he gives bad advice to dodge, accountability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's right in there in itself. So not only possibility for, an inquiry, like you were stating, from the federal government, the FBI, but also
And the
IRS.
IRS.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's an intriguing thing. Now have you gone to anybody at a higher level outside the township or county to see if you can get some action taken or?
Yes. I've contacted the Attorney General of Michigan, Dana Nessel. Okay. So it remains to be seen, what's happening. But something ought to, I just want things to be right, to be legal, okay, and not people doing whatever they feel like they want to do and they get away with it. All right. That's just like that park situation. The township supervisor is the one that came out there, all right, and pulled out the docks and the fences. Not only there, but uh, uh, we used to have like uh, festivals in Sumpter Township. Okay, there was when they had those demolition derbies and so forth, people would come in there with their cars and everything, which was exciting. All right, uh, they had food and different. It was like a carnival atmosphere. All right, with rides and everything. We have that. We don't have that anymore. Okay, because for whatever reason, um, uh, and I've been hearing that he wants to get rid of Parks and Recreation. See, and the thing about that is this: we had a former township trustee. His name was Ham. All right, and supposedly, he bequeathed $80,000. Okay, for the Parks and Recreation. What happened to that 80,000 is beyond no one knows. Okay. No one knows because there's nothing new.
Unfortunately, that kind of seems to be that kind of pattern of, lackadaisical, reporting or actually just misspending is too common. I mean, it's almost every person I sat down and talked to over the years about any locality, they have the same issues. They're very similar. And it's true. I mean, where the people that can roll their eyes and think, well, that's nickel and dimes,
Mm-hmm.
$80,000 in the face. It's not. It's not a nickels and dimes. Um, it basically shows a pattern of neglect and abuse of power and arrogance with that power. They mock anybody who wants to inquire about
Mm-hmm.
it.
No accountability.
Right. And I don't care if it's a Democrat, Republican, or independent, or I think anybody who is abusing power I think they should fear the people more. They don't. They are arrogant, and they think, and they do get away with it because
Mm-hmm.
the people we have to go to as citizens are people who they're going to be sitting down and having lunch with, on a regular basis. They're not going to alienate each other. It's like anytime people tell, with like the court system in this country, which is, I don't want to go too much into it, but basically when you're in that whole thing, you're in their court. I mean, literally, the ball's in their court. You are the outsider. Everybody involved, the cops, the judges, and everybody else, and everybody else in that little cadre. They're a cadre. They're they're seeing each other over and over again. So they're not going to make your case a career defining case. They're not going to burn bridges, and unless you can bring hired guns out from the outside area, you're screwed. And when it comes to people when you ask questions about how money is being spent, where your taxes are being spent, there's almost like a chortling going on.
Mm-hmm.
They're like they're amused by it. Oh, you want to be involved, huh? Well, why don't you run for office? Like you're going to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're just the arrogance. I mean, that feeds it. The whole system's screwed up, and that's the reason why I never ran for office. Because guess what? Even if you're well intended, though, and they got you really from the onset, because you have to depend. Even if you get elected, you got all these great things. You got to go to them to get information. You got to
Mm-hmm.
go through their sources of information, and it's an unchanging guard. Basically, you could change the names of the face on the nameplates of the wards, the districts, or whatever, but the people who are filing the paperwork in the offices, not likely going to be changed along with that change of these the faces connected to those offices.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's what it is. I mean, so that's what it is. It's a bureaucracy. It's like basically it's like bad leavening, or a bad, it's like a bad yeast or a mold form. It just, you can't, they're evasive, they avoid detection, and nobody addresses them,
Mm-hmm.
that's a major issue at every level of government. People, the career bureaucrat, the career pencil pusher and paper filer, and all the other people around there. Let's face it, you can file a report and they can just choose this to put it in the circular file, the trash can.
Mm-hmm.
Police oversight. You got something wrong with a cop, you go report it to who? His boss. Hmm. They're who are buddies. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
have a sincere doubt that's going to go any further, and I'm probably going to set you up for systemic harassment on that. If you're a small town and it's something they're bored to do, that's what it is. I mean, that kind of stuff, that kind of arrogance and abuse of power, and just simple, just flippancy is maddening.
Well, that's what we have out there in Sumpter Township. Okay. I want to applaud one man that's been helpful, okay, in Sumpter Township in terms of when we talking about blight, and not blight necessarily blight, but road conditions, weeds, and fire hydrants and so forth. Okay, this man has spent lots of money buying equipment, and he's done it himself by himself. All right, to cut the weeds away from the roadway, the fire hydrants, the stop signs, et cetera. Because if it had not been for him, I'm sure that there's probably been some accidents. Okay, because like that one picture we showed about how high the weeds are. That's just one road. All right, and um, and bless his heart, he's been out there at no, he's not getting paid. He's doing it because he cares about Sumter Township. I care about Sumter Township. All right, I care about the people in Sumter Township. But what I don't like is their nonchalant, careless attitude. Okay, about other people. So I applaud his name. I applaud his name is Randy. So
Maybe sometime we could have him like do a phone interview and do another segment if you choose to do another segment, or
mhm,
because we have a person like much like Randy. He's kind of a wealthy individual. I don't know where he got his money at, and he's involved in different local, like I think he was on the school board, on the Mott board of trustees in Mott Community College, and he's got he went out and bought a tractor with a brush hog and stuff like that,
mhm,
and he's cleaning like the trails alongside the bike trails, and
Yeah.
the sections of it. And he goes on his own, and I'm sure. But I think he told me one time he had harassment by the local or township officials in some area because well, that's not your job, and there's like liability doing that. It's like, well, you're not doing it, and if it's not done, it's going to cause major lawsuits. Like some cross people don't understand that. I've seen this in the rural areas,
Hmm.
which you were talking about Sumpter Township. It seems rather rural. I don't think I've ever been there, but from the pictures you show me, there's like large wide open spaces. Well, you come up to a crossroads, like or an intersection, you got weeds that are like too high, or
You can't
you
see.
can't see. You pull out with thinking you're safe and plowed into. Horrific. I mean, especially if it's a like a little like divided highway, like or whatever. Bam, you're 45 miles, 50 miles an hour. You got plowed into, or you plow into somebody else.
Hmm.
And it's because there's no clear signs of slight lines. You can't you're gonna let's face it. They demonstrated that years ago on a PSA years ago about holding up a pencil in front of you like some that arm's length, and actually if somebody's coming at you, the person with on a motorcycle, that pencil from a distance is basically going to cover enough area in your field of vision to obscure them, but the motorcycle rider. So I mean, a whole tree or a series of clusters of bushes. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be create a very visually blind spot.
And I've seen Randy work. Okay. Um, and in talking to him recently, because he keeps meticulous records. All right. He told me that he's cleaned more than 2,000, 3,000 areas, cutting the weeds, cutting the little small trees. And it's just bless his heart. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's like we need people like them, and unfortunately, official people look down on people like that. They try to find a way of stopping them because they're embarrassing them.
Well, this guy named this township attorney Young uh, told him to stop.
See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't know that, but I mean,
Hmm.
that's what the person I was talking about had. I think he had somebody warn him. He was, his brush hog might hit a piece of rock or something like that, and fling it and cause damage done to a passerby and all this.
Any excuse.
Yeah, any excuse. I mean, well, they themselves, okay. I've seen them do that themselves. There are work crews. This particular individual I'm talking about would actually walk through the entire area before mowing to make sure there was no obstacles like chunks of concrete or
Hmm.
rocks that and he took it on himself. I mean, he was sweaty and then he was like on the tractor, but I put 10 hours in that one day. I was talking to him, 10 hours of doing something for the county. And I'm
But
sure he gets nothing but scorn for that,
Randy, he's still doing it. He's still being a good citizen.
Oh, that's beyond a good citizen. I mean, that man's like,
Okay.
yeah, he's like, and it's like the thing is, I mean, what I always touches me, and I get the lump in the throat. When you think about these people who they know they're going to be vilified by these officialdom for doing. Even some of the citizens are kind of sneer at them, but they go out the other citizens. They go out and they do all this do-gooder kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
I mean, necessary. I mean, I could applaud and admire and respect. I'm not one of them to do that. I try to do that. This kind of stuff. We're doing here. I mean, where I try to do it that way, and abuse of put you on the radar too because they try to find some fault with what we're doing. But
Well, people are going to always do that. You know what I mean? But the thing is that I don't know why they do it. Out of jealousy or thinking that. And this man has not ever received a cent for the work that he's done. He's not asked any for anything. Okay, but just leave me alone and let me do what I do. All right, protect the people.
once here's the thing is I don't know if it's a possibility legally, but if he's doing something, they're so fearful that he might bring like a lawsuit against the county or the township or whatever, indemnify him. I mean, extend some kind of protection, give him a title, maybe with no pay or anything, but at least all the legal protection ought to be afforded to them. Stuff like that, and themselves. Let's face it. I mean, everything's fraught, fraught possibly with danger. I mean, mowing does cause, you could possibly hit something high speed with the blades rolling and hit it and sling it into somebody's windshield or something. If they're, you're mowing a
Hmm.
section of a road. But I just think that's that's life. I mean, there's a possibility for that. I don't think it wasn't intended. I don't think there was any malintent behind it. Or malevolence be attached to it. So I think there should be, people like that should have some kind of some safeties, forwarded to them.
Well, that's just too much like doing right. Okay. Um, and there's a lot of good people in Sumpter Township, a lot of good people. All right. But they're so, not all, but some are intimidated, you know what I mean, by what they've heard other people have experienced, you know what I mean, from certain individuals at that township hall. Okay.
It's like, and that's the intimidations. I mean, it's not, people who are intimidated are not, should I say, necessarily paranoid or fraidy cats or whatever. There's a real threat when you cross officialdom. I mean, they have a right to, they have a way of harassing you. Using your own money is to pay the people to harass you. The money they force out of you, they can use to create weapons to be held against your head. I mean, to threaten your safety, threaten your livelihood, to take your home or your property somehow, something. I mean, it's not above. It's been done. It's not some conspiracy. It's
Right.
been done repeatedly throughout this country.
Well, it has happened to me because when I got that ordinance violation, on property that I own, okay, I went to court, the 34th District Court. All right. Disgraced Parrott. He was a judge. He was a judge. All right. No longer disgraced. $2,500. That was his fine. And I had to do 30 days, 45 days of community service.
You had to do 45 days for an infraction, for refusing to. This is all over that your camper or something.
My camper, yep.
$40 to a $2,500 fine and 45 days of community service
Mm-hmm.
for something we obviously they're very selectively enforcing. Yeah, I mean that's no. You have talked to an attorney about see how you can maybe angle this to go after the township.
I'm working at it. I'm working on it right now. Okay. And the thing about it, all right, I got hurt on the job when I was working, okay. And had I not been under doctor's care, they would have had me picking up trash on the side of the road. That was part of the punishment. Well, I'll show him. All right. So, because they have these road crews that go out and pick up trash and things on the side of the road, but that's where he had had me going, but he couldn't do it because I had this disability in my leg. All right.
No, it just shows the punitiveness of the reactionary standards that these people have too. I mean, it just like I said, I have a tendency, I have a scorn for people in authority positions because for exactly what we're going over right now, selective enforcement, just sheer arrogance and of the abuse of power they engage in.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they get into office, it seems like they start engaging in it. So I just have a serious problem with people in power because it goes to their head immediately. But what it is people who want power are the ones who are seeking it. You don't get the guy you're talking about, Andy or whatever his name was, or Randy. He's the person that probably should be in positions of authority, but he's reluctant to do it because he's probably a pretty decent person.
He is.
Yeah. So, we attract a bad element. I mean, and Lord Acton was known for saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think Mr. Moss and I agree on this. He's a guy who does a show from here. His observations, no, it's not power corrupts. It's those who want power are the ones who seek power, and then they want to abuse power as soon as they get power. That's what happens. I mean, Cincinnatus, the famous Roman who was brought in to set the Republican right and make it reestablish it. He stepped in, did his job, and went back out of office. Did that twice. Wasn't tempted by the power. It wasn't trying to. He wanted to go back to be the farmer, And we don't have people like that nowadays because the money is too damn good. I mean, it's like they just get off on it, and there's never enough. I mean, how many people you see run for offices repeatedly, even though we had a mayor who got kicked out of being the mayor here in the city of Flint. And he later on got reelected as a much higher position. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, but they recycle him to a higher position. So it doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, that's why it's all basically name recognition and how many hands you shake and how many babies you kiss, and we'll kiss whatever or what, But I don't understand how I think if I screwed up and had people angry enough to get me removed from office, I'd be chagrined. I'd feel embarrassed. Not these
So would
people.
I. So would I.
I mean, we had a mayor who oversaw the water. During his term started the water crisis, and okay, he wasn't to blame totally. I mean, there was multi layers of blame on that one, but he just seems to be like nonchalant about his role.
But I seen him pull the lever.
Yeah, pull the lever.
You know what I mean? And people are still hundreds of people or thousands of people are still suffering from that lead.
My sister, she lost a lot of her hair. She from the lead in the water. She also had they actually done the testing in the bones. She's got lead in the bones. If you catch it early enough, you can actually do nutritional supplements and eat certain types of foods that help flush it out. But once it's in the bone, it's in the bone. It's not going to be removed. So I mean, personally, I mean, I've had issues with it. And I don't blame this individual for that totally. Everybody from the lower level up to the governor's office at that point had a hand in it. But they didn't care. It's like they didn't ask any questions. I mean, if I would have so much fear of being in that position, because I really do value other people's lives, I'd say, are we safe doing this? Are these people going to be safe if we do this? Doesn't seem to be around there at the radar. It doesn't.
Right.
And that's this. Can I get to? And I want $150,000 a year now instead of 125. After you screwed up that role, you want a higher paying position. And it makes. They don't feel embarrassed. They're incapable of it.
I don't understand it, John. I don't understand it. It's, there's so many people like that, and they get elected year after year after year after year after year after year after year.
Anyway, it's like, well, I think we're running up at 50. Could be soon 58 minutes, and I think that we should. I think we covered the blight and the issues we were wanting to bring to light, and also very much into the selective enforcement. But I'm looking forward to hearing about this attorney. If you find any more information on that or anything, you contact me. We'll do another podcast. And, obviously you're always welcome back in the studio. You're one of our first supporters when we first started this back, 15 years ago. And so we always like working with you, and you've always been a pleasure to work with. So,
well, it's been a pleasure working, with you and your family as well. I still want to make a touch base on this these political signs.
Mm-hmm.
Can we put that up?
Let's see.
It's Byron Patterson.
He's
the treasurer of Sumpter Township.
Okay.
With the
Okay. That's a picture of there's like right there on his property. That's that vehicle you're talking about.
Yeah, and he's in the driveway.
Yeah, we got the picture of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got the picture of him. Yeah, that we showed previously. Yeah, that's a picture of the trustee right there. Yeah. So this vehicle we're looking at on his property, he was like dropping off campaign signs or something like that.
Picking them up.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
using is that a township vehicle or?
No, that's a county.
County.
It's a county vehicle used for senior citizens and so forth.
Okay, so let me take a look at it again here. And he was driving that vehicle when he was basically conducting personal business for his political office, right?
He wasn't the one he wasn't the one. It was the person that lived in that home.
Oh,
that truck is parked in.
And that's
that vehicle, that transit vehicle is parked in. He was running. He was running for township treasurer.
Okay.
Byron Patterson. All right.
And now that's a sort of abuse of misuse of
Of course.
publicly funded vehicles and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's like this, but nobody. Who are you going to report this to? Who has oversight of these kind of abuses? I mean,
Well, I contacted um, the Attorney General of the United States. Excuse me, of Michigan.
Yeah, Nestle. Yeah.
Dana Nessel. All right.
How long ago was that? Did she ever contact? Return the contact? Or?
Well, the thing about it is, if they're working on something, they're not going to call. They're not going to call me and tell me.
Okay.
They don't do that. All right.
They have to sound some kind of investigator out or some kind of do inquiry and stuff.
And I'm sure it's probably being investigated, as we speak. And he should not be voted back into office, because I understand that he's thinking about running again for 2024.
And it's like, and again, the recycling, inefficient and incompetent, and for lack of a better term, if you're not doing your job that you've been appointed to or hired for, I see that as a form of corruption, because you're taking money under false pretenses.
That's
a form
right.
of corruption.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
It's like
see, and it's state and federal money that goes into the leasing of those trucks.
Yeah, because everybody says, well, this is local or whatever. It's got maybe a county sign on signage on the vehicles, but they don't realize the depth of the multi levels of funding.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's used for the county. It's going to be used for the county, but it's been purchased by funds provided by the federal government or the state government or a combination thereof.
Exactly.
And so it's like because to draw from many pockets, and it's basically all of our pockets, and it's given to them and different levels. They extract as much cash as they can from us,
And I would like to applaud the men and women that deliver home dinners for the people every day in Sumpter Township. Okay, the men and women that are out there, rain, sleet, or snow. Because Wayne County has a program for the people that fit a certain criteria.
And they've I've seen that around here. Then people are disadvantaged. They're not able to go about to get their own food at a shopping, to shopping. Neighbors helping is great. I mean, you could depend on that. It's wonderful. I mean, I've seen that repeat, a lot, but there's a lot of gaps in that, and people are just so busy that they can't see. I'm not a liberal politically, but I see the wars our country engages in, and we spend billions of dollars happily on weapons, but we have a problem with trying to help somebody else cover medical bills or food. And it's like, why do we have such a? I mean, we're destroying things, and we love destroying things. But we're no problem with saying 80 to 100, a few $100,000 for a couple of missiles. If you just throw into a role of a conflict, doing that repeatedly, spending billions of dollars ultimately. But we have issues trying to help people on our own shores and within our own boundaries. And I have issues. I mean, I'd rather see the money spent here. I mean, like I said, I don't want to see more people get dependent on government. But we already have people who seriously have need, who are not being served. Anybody who think that everybody's getting kind of help and they're all abusing the system, that's not accurate. I've known people who don't get anything. And there's some people get too much. There is abuse in the situation.
Of course there is.
But that could be challenged. That could be changed. But I simply, even with the abuse in position, still think more money should be spent on helping our own people than creating wars like we're currently doing. I mean, we're funding 2 wars that I could think of right now. I don't want to go into it. How many billions of dollars, how much human suffering we help engage in it. I don't want that for my legacy, but
I hear you.
Some people are happy with it. I mean, content with that. They think there's necessary. That's all necessary. I have a problem with that.
Just greed, and I'm happy that you know, that the Warren Evans, he's the director of that's not his title, but anyway, he's in charge of more or less Wayne County. Wayne County. But anyway, I want to thank him and his office for help providing, you know, Forgotten Harvest, and I'm sure these dinners that are supplied, you know, to seniors and handicapped people, you know, that program comes out of Wayne County as well. So I'm sure he's got something to do with that. So I want to thank him for, you know, all of that.
So anyway, anything you think of you want to cover before we wrap this up today, or?
Well, I just want people to know them 7. Can we show them 7 again?
Those 7.
Allegedly, I mean, so-called trustees.
Okay. Oh, I didn't have the picture of them all together, and that recent ban. I think that was on the first one, so I didn't have those on the file for that. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry about that, but that's the 7 trustees that you had. Let's see if I can find them real quick. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it, and just find it. Let's see. We got several pictures here, so hold on here. Man, I can't seem to find any pictures. I thought we had them on that. Yeah. Anyway, I apologize for not having them. I didn't have the foresight to think about that, about getting the pictures of the trustees from that, you know, from Sumpter Township prior. I'm drawing a blank here. I went to 2 different files and I couldn't find them, so I do apologize for that. But are they also on the website that you could find, like the Sumpter Township? Does that have a website there?
Oh yes.
Yeah, their pictures are at. And also, before we wrap this up, I would like to give you an opportunity. I'm kind of maybe hitting you broadside to this, and I'm sorry if you didn't anticipate this, but you have a ways that people can contact you about this. I mean, if they want to contact you about further information, if they're members, if they're citizens of living in Sumpter Township or nearby
or anywhere. Yeah. In my opinion, rbr@att.net.
Okay. And when I post this, I can put that up. We'll have it written out there, so they can just click on it and go to that. And also, I mean, definitely I would encourage people to contact you if they had other issues that you maybe not be aware of. You know, might hear, and maybe, you know, I guess they could say the expression, people who have the same issues a lot of times should reach out to you, even if it might not seem relevant. Tell them, you got something similar like that going on here or there. I mean, that's how you see you get people informed of what's going on around them better.
Exactly. And if folks out there that are listening, if you see something wrong or illegal, report it. Report it, please. All right.
So anyway, okay, I guess we could have got everything covered, and I definitely encourage you to come back and give us updates what might occur from after this, this particular podcast. So, I mean, and people, I want you to contact Ronald. If you have something going on like that, we'll provide you with the email address, and we hope to hear from you. And again, Ron, thank you very much for coming and taking the time out of your day to discuss this. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.